Ultimate Radio.
140 to 1. The Chart Show with Mark Fielding.
Remember when you heard the song many years ago?
Good evening to you. Welcome to the show. Thanks to Craig for the last hour of bang up to date stuff. Boy, have we put some great shows on today. This is probably one of the.
My name's Mark Fielding. I'm one of the managers and co-owners of Ultimate Radio. I also broadcast on the station. We started the station, well, effectively just over 5 years ago, and we've been running since. Generally, stuff we're an amateur station. People do it for the love of broadcasting. We do it for the love of broadcasting, and we generally have programs on in the evenings and weekends when people are available. We have a few during the day when people are available who are not working. We have previously have had a replay schedule, so we've rebroadcast the shows that have gone out in the evening during the day to fill up airtime, and we have an automated backup music playout system which plays non-stop music when there's nobody on the air.
David Essex climbing just the one place to number 32. Bevy's loving that. He reckons it's a great track, one of his favourites. It is one of his better ones, I think. Imperial Wizard up one place, 32. That's as far as he got though with that, unfortunately. And there was a fall of 7 places to
number 31.
It's the Dooleys.
We're a station of music lovers. The principal thing is our love of music, really. Of whatever genre that is. You know, we have people who do country music shows, people do funk shows, we have rock shows, we have dance music shows, kind of, you know, house and that house music and that kind of stuff. We have general music shows. We have shows that are dedicated to specific periods of time. So we have had 70s shows, 80s music shows, 90s music shows. We want to be entertaining as well. You know, anybody can put on Spotify and listen to whatever music they want. What you can't get from Spotify is a little bit of humour, a bit of banter, a bit of funny, sometimes doing serious stuff as well. You know, we've done all of that. Like, we've dabbled in making documentaries as well. We've done outside broadcasts. So we've done a whole load of things, a whole load of different things as well. But principally, we're a music station.
Oh, very good evening. Mandy here. Luckily, no glitches tonight. Thank goodness for that. So you're listening to All Things Rock and Indie. Mandy back with you between now and 10 o'clock live on Ultimate Radio.
I got into the radio purely through my partner Stuart, who's been in the radio sort of presenting radio for sort of 40 years almost. So since he was a child, he's been into radio. So that kind of enhanced my interest in it really and made me want to do it.
Don't have the best voices in the world, do they? Or whoever that lead singer is. But anyway, that's Pavements and Shady Lane. We've got the first track then from the featured album this week, which is called Gigaton. And it's
my rock and indie show is really, it is what it says on the tin. It's literally all things rock and indie. So the tunes I play are rock tunes, the old kind of indie Britpop stuff. I do like to promote. The initial idea was to promote new indie bands, new rock and indie bands that were sort of coming along, that I was able to get access to tracks, and which I did. So it was just a question of wanting to introduce people to new music that comes along. But of course, playing the old favourites that everybody knows, all the Britpop stuff, all the rock stuff. I have a couple of themes. I have a featured album, so I feature a relatively new rock or indie album. I have a feature called A Long Time No Here, which is an opportunity for people to give me suggestions on tracks that they haven't heard for a long time, and I'll play them. And we have a vintage choice feature where I play something that is quite old, probably from the 70s and further back. So I try not to pack the show out too much with features. It's about really just introducing the listeners to the rock and indie tunes.
Across the UK and around the world, streaming at 192
32 kilobytes per second. This is Ultimate Radio.
Status Quo and Rolling Home from the album In the Army Now. Before that, the Trogs and Wild Thing.
Hello, I'm Ian Beverley. I'm a presenter on Ultimate Radio. I have three at the moment, weekly shows. One on a Friday night, which is Friday Night Live, which is 2 hours of one is called the Randomizer, which is where we have a randomly picked year and basically chuck a load of music and news and things in from that year. And then the other hour is all about mood songs of the week. So people request how their week has been. They do that when reflecting by music. Saturdays, I do something called Saturday Night with Bevy, which is kind of a main thing, really. It's a show that covers essentially the 60s, 70s and 80s, but it is absolutely crammed full of features and lots of requests and lots of interaction. That's what it's all about, getting people involved and helping them feel involved and just having a good time. And just for the time being, on a Sunday, I do something called Straight Up the 70s, which was an old show I used to do up to last year on a Saturday, and then we had a bit of a change around. But I thought it would be good to bring that back whilst the current situation is ongoing. I got involved because I've always wanted to do something with radio or be involved in radio, but it's to what level and to what degree I've never really sort of found that out up until about a few years ago. I started listening to more internet radio really as I was sort of going off a lot of more commercial. I used to listen to quite a bit of commercial radio quite a few years ago, and I'm kind of going off it because it was the sound of it just didn't appeal. So I was having a search around the internet, just listening to bits and pieces, and I came across some names I knew, and the name Mark Fielding came up when he was presenting on another station, and it just so happened that timing was right, and they were starting a new station. I thought, right, is this an opportunity where I could try and get involved in doing this?
A lot of your listeners are visually impaired, and no doubt many of them will be experiencing considerable social isolation as a result of the lockdown. To what extent do you actually think you're helping to tackle that problem?
I think you're contributing to it. I think it is just giving, the way I see it, it's giving people opportunity to come to just tune in, to escape away from a lot of things that are happening around us at the moment, and just feel part of something, whether it's an individual show or it's part of the station or whatever, or both, to just feel involved and connected with us and connected with other people as well. So yeah, I think we're contributing to that and hopefully helping that along a little bit. But it's also, we talk about the blind and partially sighted community, and that's hugely important. But as an internet radio station, we like to think that we can broadcast to everybody, whoever's coming along, and it is a hugely crowded market. But we're open to anybody and everybody to who wants to join in, who wants to be involved, who wants to connect with us. We're more than happy to as many people as possible, really.
It's just an escape from what's going on in the world.
That's the voice of Ultimate Radio listener Jackie from Bolton. She says being able to interact with the presenters at this very difficult time is vitally important.
Because you can't see people now. It's just nice being able to, you feel like you're chatting to your mates on the phone, or you're having a text conversation or a WhatsApp conversation or something like that. So it's nice to be able to have a bit of banter with people who you feel like are friends, to be honest. And it's nice, the people, the presenters, I don't listen to all of it all the time, but the presenter, you feel like you get to know them a little bit, and it's just makes you feel like if I texted into a presenter on Radio 2, you get an email back saying, oh, well, we might not be able to put you on, and chances are you won't get on. So it's just nice, that personal the personal touch that they give, which I like.
I'm Anna Rigby. I live in Chester. I'm totally blind. On Ultimate Radio, I like quite a lot of things. Generally, I think on Ultimate Radio, the presenters are of pretty good quality. They've got good kit at home, obviously, so they sound good, because there's nothing more annoying when you're listening to a radio station and the voice quality, of the presenter is terrible. And obviously sometimes you get that on some of the stations. I listen to probably some of the daytime stuff, that they're sort of quite general and loads of different music.
It's Top 40 Singles for the 20th of March, 1979.
I like the chart show that Mark does on a Friday. I haven't yet managed to listen to, because they're doing breakfast shows at the moment as well, which I haven't listened to yet, but sound quite fun.
And there you go, Toto, Hold the Line. It was their debut single, their debut hit, got us high.
I think what Ultimate do well is they strike a good balance between presenting good shows that are worth listening to for the show's sake, say the folk show or a rock show or a chart show, with a sort of little injection of being sociable and mentioning people, but not overdoing it, not just talking about who's listening and or who's presenting all the time. I think can be quite hard to strike the right balance between being sociable with the listeners and sort of being too chatty. Then it gets a bit incestuous and boring.
Earlier, we heard from Ultimate Radio presenter Ian Beverley. Well, Ian will be relieved to know that he definitely has at least one fan. Denise from Hull listens to his show, if nothing else. She loves Ultimate Radio because it's a really comforting distraction from the grim news.
It takes your mind off the everyday news, because I was getting to a point where I had my local radio station, Radio Humberside, which is a very good station, and they're giving all details of any help you need. But it was the news, and I was just getting to a point where I was getting like addicted, if you know what I mean, with the news, and it was just getting me down. And then I found out Ultimate Radio was doing a lot more shows, programs and request programs basically. And I listened to it I listened to it from 7 o'clock in the morning, really.
This is it. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Yes, trying times, but let music take you away to a place that will get us through.
Without Ultimate Radio, I'd be totally lost, really, because it's, Ultimate Radio, it's like a family. It's like you feel as though it's part of your family, it's like a family station, really.
I think it's really nice, particularly at the moment while we're on lockdown, because while I think most of us are coping with it reasonably well, you do feel that, there's obviously not as much social interaction. You can't go out and see your mates. I know there's plenty of online things going on, but the interaction on the radio shows can be quite fun. You can, if you can make a request, or you can listen to what other people are cooking for their tea, or, telling the presenter what you're doing, having a bit of the banter and hear what they're doing, what, at their end of the proceedings, and usually they share a bit of that, or the odd rant. It's quite fun. It sort of makes it a bit more personal than if you just, put in like a big national radio station on. Even though I've listened to some radio, some 5 Live phone-ins, and they're doing some phone-ins where people can ask questions, but it's sort of, it's smaller and a bit more personal and sociable on stations like Ultimate.
I've just had 4 days off work, and I can't, we can't go out. Normally I would probably, my husband and I would go out for a meal, or I'd meet some of my friends, and you can't do that now. So the fact that for most of the days in the weekend, I've put them on, listened to them, and they have filled that gap. And you don't have to interact with them; it's just there in the background, listening to what's going on and what's going on with other people who text into the shows as well. It's just nice knowing that there are other people out there.
Before I do that, I've got one of Jackie's choices, and this is Carly Simon, You're So Vain. And Jackie says she was about 3 or 4 at the time, and she remembers singing. She kept singing "Clouds in My Coffee," and I think her mum.
Of course, I do like the interaction. That is good to have that, because it does give you a bit of a burst. If you're feeling a bit flat and you feel like nobody's listening to you, of course, interactions give you that extra kind of. They give you that extra sort of energy burst, and you want to sort of carry. They give you that bit more confidence, and you can feel your show getting better. I do the shows that I do during the day as part of the new schedule. I do really like interaction on that, because that is just a music mix, and it's always nice to have interaction, because finding links can be quite difficult. If you haven't got the interactions, then you can struggle unless you know what to say to sort of put your links in. So, yeah, some shows interaction is more important than others, really.
Right, we've got a track for Brian now. He wanted this one from 10cc. Good morning, Judge.
We're all in a very unique situation where we're all having to stay inside or around the house, and especially as, people with VIs, where it's harder to go out, it's harder to social distance, so we're going to be more reliant on sort of being at home, reliant on other means of entertainment, other means of keeping in touch. And I think something like what we're doing enables us to do that. So I think that does provide a good outlet. So I think as long as this is going on, then I know, sort of just speaking from my own individual point of view, and I'm sure others would possibly echo this, that we'll continue to do this. But we're always going to be here. I mean, even after the lockdown's finished and this dreadful thing hopefully clears, starts to clear, and starts to be sort of more under control, then we'll be here. The station will continue, and we'll keep doing things the way we intend to.
And Coral put in a request that in the last hour that I was looking for, and it turns out that I suspect the song you want is not by Peter and Gordon. It's by Crispy and St. Peter's.
With your masquerading and you always come.
It's an awful situation, and although we don't want to make light of the situation itself, there are plenty of other things out there to make people smile, and we want to be part of that. We want to be able to bring that to people as well.
Pied Piper by Crispin St. Peter's. It's just sent me.
We have some listeners who don't go out because they have various disabilities, which mean that they don't get out very much. And I think for them, we are a social lifeline. I know we have some listeners who listen pretty much the whole time we're on the air. Maybe not quite the whole time, but pretty much the whole time that we've got live stuff going out, they're listening to us. And I'm also aware that there are people, when we've had automation on during the day, who've just had us on as background stuff while they're pottering around the house doing whatever. So, yes, I think we are aware that, that there are people who listen to us who do feel isolated, and for them, having somebody to interact with, even if it's just at the end of a tweet and somebody responding, A, on Twitter, and B, actually on the air to what they're saying, I suspect that probably gives them a bit of a boost of confidence.
I hope it will develop further and keep producing entertainment for people. I mean, obviously, you don't know what developments are in terms of technology. I mean, I thought when I could play any song I wanted pretty much at any time, I thought maybe I wouldn't listen to the radio so much. But sometimes it's nice if other people kind of choose and play the music for you, and you're more likely to hear things that you otherwise wouldn't listen to. So I think it's certainly got a place for that to happen still. So I hope it will remain, open and working, and maybe gain more listeners. I don't know how many listeners they have, because obviously I can't tell, and no doubt it will vary between shows. But yeah, I hope that they'll keep going and finding it worthwhile doing so.
And so was number one a non-mover. Number one for 4 weeks in total for Gloria Gaynor. I Will Survive. Take care of yourselves. Have a great week. Debbie's up next. Ta-ra.
Britain's number one.
I love doing what I'm doing. I'm running a radio station that is, I think, it's liked by its listeners. It's got a reasonably good following by internet radio standards. We've got great broadcasters, and for me, I would like to be able to make it bigger. Obviously, the reality that maybe it constrained by finance and time and things like that. I can only do what I'm doing at the moment because I happen to be not working. Now, when I start working, I'm going to have to reevaluate the way I do radio. So I might not be able to do as much live stuff, and I might have to rely more on voice tracking and things like that. But I still think I will be able to give a quality of broadcasting, and some of my ambitions may be curtailed slightly by employment, but for the moment with COVID-19. That's not about to happen in a hurry, so I'm free to live the dream.
Ultimate Radio. This is Ultimate Radio.